My 33 female, ex, 33 male, and I met when we were 7 years old. We grew up in the same church with both our parents being church leaders. I started to notice him when I was about 15. We had both become youth group leaders by this time and saw each other at least 2-3 times a week at church-related activities. We started dating when we were 17. He was my first boyfriend, my first kiss, my first everything. It was a fairy tale romance, and I truly believed God had created him just for me. We dated for 3 years, and looking back, he never pretended to be anything other than what he was. He didn't initiate text messages or phone calls. I planned our dates, with one exception being 1 year for Valentine's Day. He took me to Chick-fil-A. The one in town had set up a restaurant-style date night, and he surprised me with that. If I got flowers, it was only because he worked at a florist for Valentine's Day and he brought home what was left. However, whenever I would think about breaking up, I'd tell myself that this is what I deserved, and that if I gave this up, who else was going to want me? So we got married at 20. Looking back now, we were way too young. Neither of us had ever lived outside our parents' home, and we still didn't because we moved in with my parents and lived with them until we were 23. As soon as X was outside of his parents' control, he started gaming. It started out as a few hours here and there, but then it became non-stop. I would ask him to please play less and spend more time with me, and he'd agree, but that would last maybe a month at most before he was back to gaming. It got to the point to where if he wasn't at work and he was awake, he was on his computer. I hoped it was a maturity thing and that with time he would grow out of it and his time spent on the computer would lessen. It didn't, not even after our child was born. I warned him over and over again that he needed to be more involved or else he was going to have absolutely no relationship with our child. I thought about leaving, about what it would be like to be single mom going to college living with her parents, but again that nagging feeling that no one would want me, especially as a young single mom, kept me in the relationship. I also stayed because I told myself I had freedom that a lot of married women didn't have. I could go wherever and do whatever I wanted and my husband didn't care. The cycle continued for the next decade. I would get angry and beg for me and he'd promise he'd change, and that would last for a month at most until I shut up and stopped complaining, and then he'd go back to the way things were. I did everything. I cooked, cleaned, paid the bills, managed the house, went to the school-related activities, and worked on top of all of it. I climbed up the ladder and became director of my job while working on my master's degree, relevant to my career. He went to work and came home and gamed. I loved him, but I was miserable and didn't even realize it. It wasn't until 2022, when I started to work on my master's thesis, that things really started to fall apart. Before I started my final master's class, I sat down with my ex and explained to him that I really needed more help for the next couple months while I wrote my master's thesis. He promised me he would, and I stressed how important it was that he follow through. He again promised he would, and I believed him. He didn't. I would sit down to research and write, and my child would need something. Our roommate, his brother,